Hey there, how's it going? In the last video, I talked about demoing Monkeys with Guns at the Ambitious Ales Indie Game Night, and how I was dealing with issues around motivation and confidence. Like I said then, this is a common occurrence for me, usually happening every 4 to 6 months, and I'm finally starting to get my drive back. I do want to say a huge thank you to everybody that left comments or reached out to let me know that they really enjoy what I'm doing here. I still find it a bit baffling that so many of you have reached out to tell me that I've helped inspire you to work on your projects. I just really like it when cool stuff is made, and if I can be a small part of that, then it's a really great feeling. This week has been pretty busy for me, which I'll go into some of it at the end. I have some cool things that happened this last week or are about to start, but they're not Monkeys with Guns related, so I'll leave that at the end. That way, if you only care about the Monkeys with Guns updates, you can go ahead and drop out then. So before I ramble for too long, let's jump in. Last time, I talked about really needing a better plan to move forward with the game. I've been making this project by really just working on stuff and hoping for the best. To be honest, the fact that I've made it this far using that approach is kind of unexpected. But I think it helped that from the very beginning, I've been putting the game in front of players, and all the changes I've made have been based on playtests and player feedback. Now, I'm super lucky that I have a monthly indie game dev meetup here where I live, and that whole group has been instrumental to this game's development. This last Wednesday, I brought the most recent build of the game to our meetup, and it made me realize that I've kind of hit a wall for this design method. Bringing the game in and getting feedback worked really great when I was just kind of throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks. And as always, I did get great feedback, and it was really great to see people playing the game and enjoying it, but I feel that the game is at a point where the core of what the game is there. Now I need to mold that core concept into a final product, which I feel needs a bit more of a solid plan than the iterative design that I've been doing of just bringing it in and seeing how it goes. So this week, I sat down and did the thing that I've been avoiding for a while. I tried to figure out what this game is and what it's going to be, and this is the document that I came up with. A slight caveat, the things may be added to the doc still, but at its core, this is what Monkeys with Guns will be. At least I hope. I've never written a design doc before, and I'm sure that this still isn't perfect, but for me, I think this will work for what I want to refer back to when I decide to work on something. That way I can make sure that I'm always moving forward towards the end goal in some way. One thing I didn't do was give myself any major milestones or deadlines because, as I've stated before, this game is being made in my spare time and it's hard to give a ton of structure to that. I just have to find free time during the week to work on stuff, and I also have other projects that I'm doing. So as I get further along, I'll start adding in actual milestones and deadlines. For the doc, I started with the one-page design doc that Tim Rustwick from Game Dev Underground put out a while back. It was really helpful as a base, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So I just wrote my own using that one as a guide. Hopefully this will answer many of the questions people have had about the game, but as always, feel free to leave a comment or message me if you need to know anything more specific. Okay, so let's jump in. First off, the game will be released on Steam and itch. Consoles would be great, but that's a whole other complication that I can't really deal with right now. If the game does okay on Steam and itch, then I'll look into figuring out consoles. This will be my first commercially released game, and I really need to make sure that I keep everything reasonable. For the core game identity, I was able to boil it down to this. Monkeys with Guns is a retro arcade-inspired action platformer shooter where players battle each other to be the last one alive. And that's really the essence of the game in my mind. Believe it or not, the game will have a story, albeit not much of one. I do want to have a cutscene at the start of the game so it's not in the way of the actual arcade gameplay, but hopefully it will be a fun little extra and help tie everything together. The basic gist is the monkeys are test subjects for a mad scientist, and they escape. They start running amok in the lab. The scientist manages to trap them in his hollow chamber where he can create whatever things he wants. And since the monkeys are still fighting inside the hollow chamber, he decides he will start adding weapons to just see what happens. Like I said, it's not much of a story, but it does help place some stuff and make everything fit mentally for me. But now let's get back to the juicy bits. The core mechanics are what I consider to be the essence of the game in terms of actual gameplay. I want to make sure that everything I do enhances these elements. Each of these core mechanics then needs to feed into what I call the core experience for the players. This is overall how I want the game to feel. So the main tenets here are, everything should feel silly, over the top, cartoony, and ridiculous. Because this is a game about guns and shooting things, I don't want it to be very serious or realistic. I really want to lay into the cartoon-esque nature of the game. The game is meant to be a quick game played in short bursts in a group setting. I'm sorry to all you single players out there, but this game is really being designed around the concept of local multiplayer group play. I will still add elements for single player, but that's not going to be the core focus of the game. The more people watching and playing, the more exciting the game becomes. This is something that demoing has really shown me that I want to reinforce. When you have a group of people watching as well as a full group of players playing, it just really amps up the excitement of the game. The game is best played with an understanding of friendly competition. With stats like the most damage badge and other elements that I want to add later, I really want to encourage crap talking between friends, but I feel like if you take the game too seriously, you're not going to have a good time. Rounds need to move quickly to keep players from becoming disinterested, especially if they're killed early in the match. Short rounds also make it much easier to encourage someone to try the game out for the first time, as the investment to play is very low. Players should feel like they could have done better when killed, not that their death was unfair or they were cheated. And finally, the game movement should feel fun and engaging, especially in regards to screen wrapping. Screen wrapping really was the core of the game and why I built the whole thing, and the movement is still one of my favorite aspects. So I definitely want to make sure that I lean into that and make that as fun as possible. So if we combine the core mechanics and the core experience together, that kind of represents exactly what I want the game to be. A fast-paced game for a group of people to play and enjoy. Again, that's not to say that there won't be any way to play solo, but solo really isn't going to be the focus of the core design. Game modes are another thing that are brought up quite a bit, and I think I've nailed it down to 4 game modes. Well, 3 really, with a modifier. Single match, which is how the game is now. There's no remembering what happened in between matches, you play a match and you start over. Basically the core arcade experience. Tournament, which will let you choose a number of rounds to play in a row. Winning a round will give you 3 points. Getting most damage will give you 2 points, and a bonus point if you're able to deliver the killing shot to another player. At the end of the chosen number of games, the person with the most points is the winner. And free play, where you can modify elements like changing the time limits or turning on and off the crates or hearts, or even choosing a gun that all the players will have for the whole round. The goal is you'll be able to craft a round for your own purposes, basically a playground mode. With those game modes, each one will have the ability to turn teams on. Players will be able to create teams in any configuration. Want to do a 3 versus 1 or a 2v2? The goal will be if you set yourself on a team with another player, your bullets won't hurt that teammate. I do want to make it so that your teammates will still stop your bullets, and explosions can still hurt your teammates. The nitty-gritty is going to take a fair amount of playtesting, but that's the idea right now. I also have some plans for changing the level gimmicks, and I'll be adding a few more weapons and pickups. I will say that I don't want to add too many weapons or pickups though. I know I have dozens of suggestions, but I want to make sure that the pickups can be quickly identified, and I feel that that'll be really tough if there's a lot of them. So I have a lot of ideas what I'm going to do with all this, but I don't have anything set in stone yet. And that's where I'm currently at and what I'll be working towards. If that's not what you hoped the game would be, then I'm sorry, but I have to keep the game reasonable. I'm pretty sure that what I have here already isn't, but I think I can pull it off. Fingers crossed. So that's where I'm at with the game, and hopefully moving forward I can keep everything focused a little bit more and keep myself on a good path. Now, a couple quick announcements about some upcoming stuff I have going on that's not fully related to Monkeys with Guns. First, I was interviewed for a podcast. I've always wanted to be on a podcast, and now that I've done it, I really hope I didn't say anything stupid. I'm racking my brain trying to remember all the things I said, and I hope it doesn't sound dumb. But I've been told it should be out mid-March, and I will keep you posted and put out a link when I have it available. I just had to share that though, because I'm really excited about it. Second, I'll be taking part in the Ultimate Game Jam with a bunch of other YouTube game devs. I know, it's a bit of a grandiose title, but we'll roll with it. Usopp Prod made a great video laying out the competition, so I would suggest going and checking out his video to learn more. Link's in the description, and I'll put a little card thingy up top. I'll be building my game for the jam this upcoming week, and I'll have a devlog about it not too long after that. I'll also be posting a lot of updates on Twitter if you want to follow along during the development. So if you want to see that or more of these devlogs, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below, message me on Twitter, or join our Discord community. As always, you can get the beta for Monkeys with Guns or any of my other games at vimlark.itch.io, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one. Later.